Hello again, FA Nation. Justin Fensterman here, and it's Fantasy Football Stock Watch time. Our first of the year as we're about to put a bow on week 1 of the fantasy football season. Let's talk 3 players trending up, 3 players trending down when it comes to their fantasy football production potential. Let's get to work. First, for a few players trending up, let's start with Michael Thomas. After not playing at all last season, we saw can't guard Mike hit the end zone twice. If the Saints' ground game isn't succeeding like it wasn't for the most part against Atlanta, expect Jameis Winston to do what he loves to do, pass a lot. Thomas was second on the team in targets with 8, one behind Jarvis Landry. He saw success going short out of the slot, and he should be utilized in that regard in the red zone throughout the year as long as Thomas can stay on the field. As the game progressed, Thomas looked better and better. He clearly shook the rust off early. Also on the rise is James Robinson. Robinson's health and utilization were heavily questioned going into the year, especially with the returning Travis Etienne. Doug Peterson made comments during the summer about Robinson and how he'll still be featured in the Jaguars offense as long as he's healthy coming in. Etienne outsnapped Robinson by 2. That's right, just 2. Robinson had more carries than Etienne and pounded the rock 6 yards per carry. Robinson scored 2 touchdowns, 1 on the ground and even 1 in the air. Etienne had a good day rushing with the limited amount of carries he received, but still the question comes to mind whether or not Etienne's production ceiling will ultimately be lowered long term because Robinson is here to stay and not going away unless he gets hurt. Final player on the rise, naturally, Antonio Gibson. No Brian Robinson, and Gibson took advantage. From all we read in late August, it looked more like Gibson was going to be getting more action on special teams than in the Commanders' backfield. While Robinson could potentially return in the next 4 weeks, Gibson showed his versatility, rushing for over 4 yards per carry, but then catching 7 of 8 targets for 72 receiving yards. Let's not forget that Gibson was a receiver in college at Memphis, and Coach Rivera and Carson Wentz can utilize him as such even when Robinson eventually returns. It was encouraging seeing Gibson targeted more in the Commanders' passing attack than J.D. McKissic, whose specialty is pass catching out of the backfield. Up next for Gibson in week 2 is a date with the Lions, who just allowed both Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders to run 90-plus yards on them, and the Lions surrendered 4 rushing touchdowns in week 1. Now for some players trending down. Let's start with Cam Akers. We were warned of a split between Akers and Darrell Henderson, but seeing Akers on the field for 12 snaps as opposed to Henderson's 55 definitely shakes Akers' investors to their core. He has had health issues since joining the league. Coach McVay could be looking to preserve Cam Akers long term. Akers isn't a drop candidate or anything like that, as the Bills are a very tough opponent, even for the defending champs. But Henderson was utilized both in the rushing and passing attack for the Rams, catching 5 balls and 5 targets. Akers didn't get any targets and just 3 carries, and he didn't do anything with them. Is it one game? Yes. But from what little we've seen thus far, Akers getting a sub 18% snap share doesn't look good for his immediate future. You can't start him. Also trending down, Dameon Pierce. It was one thing dealing with the fact that the Texans would be playing from behind a lot as a case against drafting Pierce in the 6th round of 12-team leagues in fantasy football, but seeing Rex Burkhead get more carries than Pierce and staying on the field 42% more than him is very discouraging, making it hard to start Pierce until he proves himself. Pierce rushed for 3 yards per carry. As expected, Burkhead was utilized in the Texans' passing attack, being targeted the second most of any Texan and caught 5 passes. Pierce caught a pass too, but he will mainly be utilized on the ground. Up next for the Texans are the Broncos, who play stifling defense and allowed the fewest rushing touchdowns of any team last year, and Houston will certainly be playing from behind in that one and will need to throw more. Final faller, Robert Woods. While Woods was on the field a lot, he was having trouble getting open and was barely targeted. He had 1 reception for 13 yards. Treylon Burke received more looks than Woods in the Titans' offense on Sunday, and we even saw Kyle Phillips get targeted 9 times. Woods wasn't moving around quickly, and it brings up the question whether or not his knee is fully recovered. The Titans are going to run a ton this year with Derrick Henry back in action, and with the Bills up next on their schedule, it's going to be very tough for Woods to bounce back, unless Buffalo is up so big that Woods gets force-fed all the targets, which I can't see happening, but he's got to get open first, and defenses will continue to prioritize him early.